Dahil may kuryente na tayo, mag-record na ulit tayo ng continuation or part 2 ng chapter 3. So, eto na siya. Let's talk about the non-resident foreign corporation in general. So, for the non-resident foreign corporation, ang basis ng tax niya is the gross income from sources within the Philippines. So, sa loob lang ng Philippines. These are the interests, dividends, rents, royalties, salaries, premiums, except reinsurance premiums, annuities, emoluments, or other fixed or determinable annual, periodic, or casual gains, profits and income, and capital gains. Pero dapat within the Philippines kasi we're talking about the non-resident foreign corporation. So this is the pro forma computation of the income tax of non-resident foreign corporation. So gross income lang, kasi yun lang daw ang basis ng tax niya, multiplied by the tax rate of 30%. So as discussed in the part 1, from 2009, ang naging tax rate na onwards is 30%. So under Section 42A3 of the Tax Code, income from services is considered derived from sources within the Philippines kapag yung services na pinerform ay sa Philippines din. So, income from services performed by a non-resident foreign corporation outside the Philippines is exempt from Philippine income tax. So, tandaan mo na kapag non-resident foreign corporation ka, dapat yung services mo, kung services man yung pinanggagalingan ng income mo, dapat na-perform siya dito sa Philippines. Okay, next. So, these are the additional tax rates involving non-resident foreign corporation. In particular, so depende siya sa nature ng business. So, non-resident cinematographic film owner, lessor, or distributor. So, ang tax niya is 25% of gross income. Pag naman non-resident owner or lessor of vessels chartered by Philippine nationals, so it is taxed at 4.5% or 4.5% of gross rentals. So, puro gross siya. Gross rentals, lease or charter fees from lease or charters to Filipinos. So, yung kung nagparent sila, so 4.5 ang tax rate. Non-resident owner or lessor of aircraft, machinery and other equipment, so they are taxed at 7.5%. So 7.5 of gross rentals, charters, and other fees. So ito yung medyo nakakalito sa income tax, sa taxation. Kailangan mong i-consider kung saan nanggagaling yung income. Kailangan mong i-consider kung resident, foreign ba sila, ganyan. At kailangan mong makabisa kung anong mga percentage ang gagamitin mo. So, ito. Illustration. Rental payments to a non-resident foreign corporation for the list of electronic gaming equipment are, syempre, subject siya sa 7.5% as discussed din dito sa item na to. Next is the passive income of non-resident foreign corporation. So, depende din siya kung anong klaseng passive income siya. So, interest on foreign loans contracted on or after August 1, 1986 are taxed at 20%. Pero, pag ang interest is nag-arise siya sa loan extended by a U.S. corporation to a domestic corporation which is guaranteed by U.S. Exim Bank, it is exempt from Philippine income tax pursuant to the RP-US tax treaty. So, nagkaroon sila ng kasunduan na walang tax yon. So, exempt siya. Interest on a loan paid by a domestic corporation to the Export-Import Bank of Korea is exempt also from Philippine income tax. Meron din siyang tax treaty. Under the RP Japan tax treaty naman, interest on foreign loans will qualify for the 10% preferential tax rate if the recipient of such interest is also the beneficial owner. Interest payments made by a domestic corporation to a Belgian corporation are subject to a 10% preferential WT rate under the RP Belgium tax rate. So 10%, 10%. Dito naman sa Singapore is 15%. So depende siya. Sa Thailand naman is 15% preferential tax rates. So pag dividends naman received from a domestic corporation, it is subject to a final withholding tax at 15%. On the condition, may condition siya, that the country in which the non-resident foreign corporation is domiciled shall allow a credit against the tax due from the non-resident foreign corporation taxes deemed to have been paid in the Philippines. So yan yun, 20% ng 1997, 19% 1998, hanggang sa 15% for 2009, which is the latest. So yan yung mga different tax rates for the different kinds of passive income ulit. At dahil nga involve ang dahil nga mga foreign corporation to, so syempre nakadepende siya sa mga tax treaty ng mga country. So, yan yon. Basahin nyo na lang yan. So, ito naman yung capital gains from sale of shares of stock not traded in the stock exchange. So, a final tax at the rates prescribed below is imposed upon the net capital gains realized during the taxable year from the sale, barter, exchange, or other disposition of shares of stock in the domestic corporation except shares sold or disposed or through the stock exchange. So, pag not over 100,000 ng capital gains niya, 5% lang. So, on any amount in excess, 10% na siya. Ito, pag income derived by a bank from its FCDUs, EFCDUs, or OBUS with respect to foreign currency transactions with non-residents. So, ito ay exempt from income tax. Pag royalty, payments made by a PEZA-registered enterprise to a non-resident Japanese corporation, these are subject to a preferential tax rate on the gross amount of the royalties under the tax treaty ulit. So, ayan, may mga tax treaty at may mga different tax. Depende sa na-meet niyang conditions. Let's now discuss yung mga allowable deductions na tayo. So, these are the allowable deductions. These are the items or amounts na inaalaw ng law to be deducted from gross income in order to arrive at the taxable income. For example, may gross income kang 1 million. Ang allowable deductions mo is 600,000. So, yun lang yung inaalaw niya. So, ibig sabihin, 1 million less yung allowable deductions na 600. So, 400,000 lang ang taxable income mo kung saan pwedeng i-multiply yung tax rates. So, yan siya. So, a domestic or resident foreign corporation may deduct from its business yung mga itemized deductions under the tax code, or these corporations may elect a standard deduction in an amount not exceeding 40% of its gross income. So, non-resident foreign corporations are not allowed deductions from, parang mali. So, non-resident foreign corporations are not allowed deductions from gross income. So, discussions in another chapter. These are the taxable income computation. Tax due. So, in case of corporations, taxable income is the pertinent items of gross income. So, paano ba yung, kanina pa ako taxable income. So, ito yung gross income minus the deductions authorized for such type of income. Yun yung tinatawag na taxable income. So, it is the amount or tax base kung saan mo multiply or i-apply yung tax rate. So, it depends on the taxpayer's involvement. And for the purposes of computing the income tax liability of a corporation, it may refer to either one of the following. Net income is the income arrived at after subtracting the gross income, the deductions of the taxpayer. So, for domestic and resident foreign corporations in general, and other corporations from whose gross income deductions are allowed. So, syempre, sales mo, revenues, receipts, or fees, ito, less mo yung sales mo. Ang tawag doon ay gross income from operation at operating and taxable other income. Kung may mga other income ka pa, so tawag doon ay gross income less yung deductions, optional, standard deduction, or itemized deduction. Ano pa ba yung mga additional allowable? So, ito na yung taxable income. Ito na yung pinaka-income mo. Kung saan mo pwedeng i-multiply yung tax rate para makuha yung tax due mo. So, yan yung net income. Next is the gross income. So, the gross income is the entire or gross income from business without any deductions. Depende kasi yan, kung naalala niyo kanina, may mga deductions tayo, ay may mga discussions tayo na binanggit ko na ang basis is gross income. So, pag sinabing ang basis niya is gross income, walang deductions yon. So, it is the entire or gross income from business without any deductions for either optional standard deduction or itemized deduction. So, buo siya. So, for domestic and resident foreign corporation, subject to the MCIT, and non-resident foreign corporation, not subject to the normal income tax rate. So, ito siya. Ganito lang siya simple. Gross income times tax rate. Tax due mo. So, for another topic, corporation availing of OSD. Ito siya. So, OSD is the optional standard deduction. Example, the gross sales of TEBD Corporation for 2018 amounted to 6,500,000 with cost of sales amounting to 4.3 million. It incurred operating expenses amounting to 1.5, and on the filing of its first quarter income tax return, it signified its intention to avail of the OSD. Computation of OSD and tax due follows. So, gross sales is 6,500,000 less yung cost of sales niya na 4.3, given yung mga yan, less OSD. As discussed kanina, OSD is based on gross income. So, yun, pag gross income kasi, kasama sa cost of sales, pero wala kang i-deduct na itemized deduction or optional standard deduction. So, gross income is 2,200,000 less, ano ba yung optional standard deduction niya? So, gross income times 40%. So, 2,200,000 times 40% is 880,000. So, this will be the taxable income of 1,320,000 at dun mo i-multiply yung tax rate na 30%. So, OSD for corporation is based on gross income. Income tax rate of corporation is currently 30%. Corporations exempt from income tax. Okay, so labor, agricultural, or horticultural organization not organized principally for profit, and so exempt siya. Mutual savings bank not having capital stocks represented by shares in cooperative bank without capital stock organized and operated for mutual purposes and without profit. A beneficiary society, order, or association operating for the exclusive benefit of the members, such as fraternal organization operating under the lodge system, or a mutual aid association or a non-stock corporation organized by employees, providing for the payment of life, sickness, accident, and other benefits exclusively to the members lang. So, mga non-profit tong mga to. Next is the cemetery company, owned and operated exclusively for the benefit of its members. So, mga exempt to sa income tax. Non-stock corporation associated, organized, and operated exclusively for religious, charitable, scientific, athletic, or cultural purposes. So, itong mga to ay exempt. Ano pa? So, yan yon. Ano ba yung non-stock? Pag sinabing non-stock kasi, It means no part of its income is distributable as dividends to its members. Pag non-profit naman, it means no net income. So, kaya no, non-stock siya, non-profit siya sa mga exempt tong mga to. So, yan. Ano pa ba ang mga i-discuss natin? Meron pang mga exempt. So, isa-isahin din natin. 6, Business League, Chamber of Commerce, or Board of Trade, not organized for profit and no part of the net income of which inures to the benefit of any private stockholder or individual. So, exempt lang din yan. Basta kapag mga non-profit siya, not organized for profit. Next is Civic League or organization not organized for profit pero operated siya exclusively for the promotion of social yung mga non-stock, non-profit educational institutions. Tax exempt yung mga yan. Meron silang natatanggap na certificate of tax exempt yung iba. Pero hindi kasi yan required para sa mga non-stock, non-profit educational institution para ma-enjoy yung income tax exemption kasi automatic. So yan. Next is, so ito yung mga examples, mga schools. Yan, may example. Next is the government educational institutions. Siyempre, yung mga public schools or mga pinatay ng government. Farmers or other mutual typhoon or fire insurance company. Yung mga yan. Tax exempt. Farmers, fruit growers, or like association organized and operated as sales agent for the purpose of marketing the products. And ay tax exempt. Yung Philippine National Red Cross or the Philippine Red Cross shall be exempt from payment of all direct and indirect taxes. So meron siyang section per section 5 of RA 170. Child caring or child placing institution licensed and accredited by the DSWD to implement the foster care program shall be exempt. Income derived by it as such organization pursuant to Section 30 of the NIRC as implemented by Revenue Regulation 1398 and sino pang tax exempt? Siyempre yung Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Sale of gold. Income derived from the following sale of gold are excluded in the gross income and shall be exempt from the income tax and consequently from withholding taxes. Ano yung mga yun? Sale of gold to the BSP, by registered SSMS and accredited traders, and sale of gold by registered small-scale miners. So, kapag nagbenta sila ng gold for eventual sale to the BSP, tax exempt. Gamit siya ng BSP. So, corporations na wala dito may also be declared exempt from income tax or any other tax under special laws. So, how about the taxation for the cooperatives? Cooperatives refers to an autonomous and duly registered association of persons with a common bond of interest who have voluntarily joined together to achieve their social, economic, and cultural needs and aspirations by making equitable contributions to the capital required. So, ipapatronize mo yung product and services and accepting a fair share of the risk and benefits of the undertaking in accordance with the universally accepted cooperative principles. So, yun yung mga co-op. So, may mga definition of terms siya. Pag sinabing accumulated reserves, it refers to the accumulated amount of money annually deducted dun sa net surplus mo, which shall be less than 50% for the first 5 years of operation after the registration and at least 10% of the net surplus thereafter. So, i-discuss ko na lang tag na babalik. So what are the classification naman of cooperatives and the tax exemptions granted? So those registered cooperatives with transact business with members only. So ito yung mga tax exempt. And those duly registered cooperatives with transact business with both members and non-members which are further subclassified under the following. So pwede siyang cooperatives with accumulated reserves and undivided net savings of not more than 10 million and cooperatives with accumulated reserves and undivided net savings of more than 10 million. So tax exemptions of duly registered cooperatives which transact business with members only. Duly registered cooperatives dealing or transacting business with members only ay exempt ka from paying any taxes and fees, including the following. So, ayan yun. Hindi sila nagbabayad kasi tax exempt sila for income tax, value added tax, percentage tax, excise tax, documentary stamp tax, and fee, and all taxes on transactions with insurance companies, electric cooperatives. Taxability or exemption of duly registered cooperatives with transact business with members and non-cooperatives with accumulated reserves and undivided net savings of not more than 10 million, kasi sabi kanina, nahati siya into 2. Pwedeng not more than 2 million at more than 2 million tuloy. Not more than 10 million and more than 10 million. So, cooperatives with accumulated reserves and undivided net savings of not more than 10 million. These are exempt from all national internal revenue taxes for which these cooperatives are liable as enumerated in the previous sections. Pero kapag naman cooperatives with accumulated reserves and undivided net savings of more than 10 million, ito yung mga depende. So, pwedeng pag business transactions with members, exempt. Pag business transactions with non-members, meron siyang mga taxes na babayaran. So, pwede siyang magbayad ng income tax on the amount allocated for interest on capitals, provided the same tax is not consequently imposed on interest individually received by the members. So, yan. Pwede rin siyang magbayad ng VAT. So, kapag more than 10 million siya. Ability of unrelated income of cooperative. So, all income of cooperatives na not related dun sa main or principal business under its articles of cooperation shall be subject to an appropriate tax under NIRC. So, this is applicable to all types of cooperatives, whether dealing purely with members or both members and non-members. Basta meron silang income na wala sa or hindi related sa main or principal business nila, kailangan nilang magbayad ng appropriate taxes. So, yan. Yan lang naman yung mga sa co-op. So, let's discuss na yung declaration of quarterly corporate income. So, every corporation shall file in duplicate a quarterly. So, ano ba yung quarterly? So, yun yung kung ikaw ay January to December pala, calendar ka. So, ang quarterly mo is, first quarter mo is January, February, March, first quarter yon, April, May, June, second quarter, July, August, September, third quarter, and ang fourth quarter mo is October, November, and December. So, every corporation shall file and duplicate a quarterly summary declaration of its gross income and deductions on a cumulative basis for the preceding quarter or quarters upon which the income tax shall be levied, collected, and paid. Cumulative, ibig sabihin, yung first quarter mo, makikita mo pa rin sa second quarter mo, sa third quarter mo, hanggang fourth quarter. So the income tax computed decreased by the amount of tax previously paid or assessed during the preceding quarters shall be paid and returned filed not later than 60 days from the close of each of the first 3 quarters. So kapag natapos yung January, February, March, first quarter, dapat makapag-file ka at makapagbayad ka 60 days after ng March. So, kaya nangyayari yung April 15 na deadline for the last quarter. So, every taxable corporation is required to file a final adjustment return cover to the total income of the corporation, total taxable income of the corporation for the preceding calendar or fiscal year, which is required to be filed and paid on or before April 15 or on or before the 15th day of the fourth month following the close of the fiscal year as the case may be. So, yung 2020 mo, January to December, so quarterly, nagfa-file ka at nagbabayad ka ng tax 60 days after ng close ng quarter. Pero, pagdating ng the following year, if-finalize mo ngayon yung income tax mo. So, magkano ba talaga dapat yung naging income tax mo for 2020? I-recompute mo siya kung tama yung mga nabayaran mo quarterly pag tinotal mo siya. So, pwedeng kulang, pwedeng sobra. Ganyan. Pero usually, nag-a-adjust talaga yon. So, ang payment niya, ang filing niya ng annual mo is April 15 or on or before the 15th day of the fourth month following the close of the fiscal year as the case may be. So if the sum of the quarterly tax payments made during the taxable year, kunwari hindi siya equal dun sa na-compute mo, kung kulang, syempre babayaran mo yung balanse. Pag sobra naman siya, pwede mo siyang dalhin sa susunod na quarter or sa susunod na taon para maibawas siya sa bayarin mo kasi nakapag-advance ka na ng payment. Or, pwede mo naman siyang i-refund sa excess amount. Although, sa totoong buhay, matagal ang refund. So, ang ginagawa na lang, dahil may babayaran ka pa rin naman sa susunod na taon, i-carry over mo na lang siya. So, ito yung illustration. For example, this is the details of the operations of corporation for 2019. So, this is the gross income, the deduction, and the net income per quarter. So, tax credit for overpaid income galing daw sa nakaraang taon is 50,000. Paano mo i-compute ngayon yung first quarter? First quarter. So, gross income mo sa first quarter is 500,000 less deductions na 300. So, ang taxable income mo is 200,000 or the net income mo yun. So, income tax due is 200,000 times 30%, so 60,000 less, ito kasi yung babayaran mo, 60,000. Kaso, based dito sa problem, meron ka ng nabayaran nung nakaraang taon na 50,000. So, bakit ka ulit magbabayad ng 60 meron advance na 50? Na lang is 10,000. For the first quarter, so magbabayad ka na rin ng 10,000. For the second quarter, meron kang gross income na 600,000. I-add mo ngayon, sabi ko kanina, cumulative siya. So, magkano yung total gross income mo nung first quarter? 500,000 less. So, ang total gross income mo for first and second quarter is 1.1 less yung deductions mo ng first na 350. So, total deductions mo is 650. So, ang taxable income mo is 450,000. Ngayon, income tax due mo is syempre 450,000 times 30%. Plus mo yung binayaran mo ng mga nakaraang taon. kailangan mong tax for the as of second quarter. So, including yung first quarter details mo and second quarter details mo. So, 135,000. Kaso, previously, in previous quarters, nagbayad ka ng 10,000 at 50,000. So, meron ka nang naging payment nung nakaraan na total of 60,000. So, magkano na lang ang babayaran? 135 minus 68 pesos. How about the third quarter? So, for the third quarter, ang gross income mo is 700,000. Oops. 700,000. Plus yung previous gross income mo ng first quarter and second quarter. So, 500 tsaka 600. So, ang total gross income mo for your first, second, and third quarter is 1.8. So, pansinin mo, cumulative siya. Lagi mo pa rin dinadama yung previous quarter. Less yung total deductions mo for the first 3 quarters. So, ang total deductions mo is 1,050,000. Taxable income mo is 750,000 pesos. So, magkano ang income? 750,000 times 30% is 225. Magkano na ba yung mga previous na nabayaran mo? 50,000 from the previous year, 10,000 from first quarter, and nagbayad ka ulit ng 70,000 sa second quarter. Ito yon. Ito yon. So, ngayon, magkano pa ang babayaran mo? So, ang babayaran mo pa ay 95,000 pesos. Ayusin ko lang ito. Next is, ngayon, for the fourth quarter, kailangan mo na siyang i-adjust based sa pinaka-total na babayaran mo, final adjustment mo na. So, ang gross income mo for the fourth quarter is 800,000. I-add mo ngayon yung mga gross income mo from previous quarters. So, total gross income mo is 2.6 less the deductions made. So, first quarter, ito yung mga deductions mo. So, total deductions will be 1.5. So, ang total taxable income mo for the year is 1.1 times 30%. Ang tax mo daw ay 330,000 pesos for the whole year. Pero dahil may mga nabayaran ka na ng previous years, kailangan mo syempre ibawas para hindi madoble-doble yung babayaran mo. So, total income tax due mo na lang is 105,000. Income tax returns or income tax due per quarter. So, that ends our chapter 3, part 2.